Okay guys, today we're going to continue factoring using Hangman. It's the same process, but this time we're going to be doing problems where there's a number before the n squared or the x squared or whatever. This is still the same process. This 2 right here, guys, should be an exponent. I apologize for that. So what you're going to do is you're going to do exactly like we did the other day. You're going to draw a hangman. Your first and third terms will go on top, so you're going to have 6n squared plus 7 on top. You're going to have 23n on the bottom. So we're going to do the same thing. This time, guys, you're going to probably want to use a pencil because it is really going to be a lot trial and error. For 6n squared, there's a couple of possibilities. We know that it's going to be n and n. And we know 7. The only factors for 7 are 7 and 1, so we know it has to be 7 and 1. Now, we need to keep in mind that we want to get 23n down here. So that will help us try to figure out what factors we're going to use for 6. So this is where you may end up having to erase. So 6 breaks down into, let's say, 2 and 3. Let's try that first, 2 and 3. If we do that, we're going to get 14. So here we get 14n and 3n. 14 plus 3 does not give us 23, so we know that's not it. So what we could try to do is switch those around. Maybe 3 goes up here, and maybe 2 goes down here. If we do that, I think we're actually going to be somewhere, because if we multiply across, we're going to get 21n, and then across here we're going to get 2n, which in fact does add to get 23n. So see, it did take me twice to try to figure it out. If 2 and 3 hadn't worked, we might have tried 1 and 6. So then it's very important on these that you definitely circle diagonally because they're not the same across. So our factors then would be 2n plus 7 and 3n plus 1. So these are our factors. So it's the exact same process of what we've been doing. It's just that they're a little more complex because it takes a little bit more guess and check than what we did on the ones from Tuesday. All right, so let's look at letter B. Let's do this process again. Okay, we have 7x squared on top, negative 8, and then negative 26x is what our goal is to get to. So if we look at this, 7x squared, 7 only breaks down into one way. It's 7 and 1, and then x squared is x and x. So we know this part's easy, 7x and 1x. There's no other way to break that down. Now, negative 8, there's several options. I'm going to write those options down before I go putting them into my hangman to see if I can kind of come to my best conclusion. I know factors of 8 are 2 and 4. Now, to multiply to negative 8 is what we're trying to multiply to. One of these has to be negative. So I'm either going to use negative 2, positive 4, or I could use negative 4, positive 2. I know those are some options. Let's look at this and kind of think about, if you think ahead, we know we want a negative 26. We also know that if we were to use our 4 across from the 7, we get 28. And that's going to help us to get close to 26, negative 26. So let's go ahead and put our 4 here. I'm using kind of an educated guess on this one. And then if I want the negative to prevail, then I need this to be negative because 7 times 4 is going to give us negative 28x. And then if I have the positive 2, that's going to give me a 2x, which if you add those up, you will get negative 26x. So the factors on this one are x minus 4 and 7x plus 2. So I'm going to write those factors out. We have x minus 4 and 7x plus 2. If we were to FOIL this back out, we would get this up here. So this one's just a little bit, more tricky. You're going to have to do a little bit more trial and error. Looking at letter C. Okay, we have 2x squared on top, negative 21, and then 11x down here. Now if we look at 2x squared, the only way to break that down is 2x and x, because 2 only breaks down to 2 times 1. And if you need to put a 1 there, go ahead, feel free. For 21, factors of 21, we know we have 7 and 3, but then it has to multiply to a negative, so one of these is going to end up having to be negative. And we know we're wanting to get to 11, so we kind of need to think of ways that that might work. We know if we put the 7 by the 2, that's going to give us 14, and then the 3 by the 1. So let's try that. So if we have 7 and 3, one of them has to be negative, one of them has to be positive. I believe if we do the 7 positive and the 3 negative, that should do it. But then again, if it doesn't, you can always try another combo. 2x times 7 gives us 14x. X minus times negative 3 gives us negative 3x, and that does in fact give us 11x. So our factors are x plus 7 and 2x minus 3. So those are our factors for number C. Okay, let's keep trying these. This one we have 3x squared minus 24 on top, negative 14x down here. We know x squared breaks down into x and x. And then factors of 3, there's only one option. They have to be 3 and 1. Okay? Negative 24, there's quite a few combinations on this one. This one will take a little bit of working through. 24 we could do, we have 6 and 4, and we have 8 and 3, and then it has to multiply to get a negative number, so we have several combinations. We can do negative 6 positive 4, negative 4 positive 6, negative 3 positive, or negative 8 positive 3, positive 8 negative 3, so there's a lot of options. So you can just start trying them. Let's just start trying. Let's see, if we do negative 6 and positive 4, if we do negative 6 here, positive 4 here, multiply across, we're going to get negative 18x and 4x. That does actually work. So I happen to get it right on the first try. If you don't, it's okay. We could just erase and go again. So our factors on this one are x minus 6 and 3x plus 4. So we have x minus 6 and 3x plus 4. Those are our factors on letter D. All right, moving on to the last two. Okay, actually there's something we got to do on these first. Okay, on letter E, we need to look at, these are really big numbers. Imagine how many possibilities there would be for this. But this one, what you have to do is you first have to factor out a common, like the greatest common factor. So if you look at all these, 20, 80, and 35, we can factor out a 5 out of all of these. So let's do that first. So if we factor out a 5 out of this polynomial, if we take a 5 out of here, these factors are 5 times 4. So if we take a 5 out of here, we're left with 4x squared. Here, 5, if we put 5 into 80, we get 16, so 5 times 16. So then we'd get plus 16x, and then the 35 is 5 and 7, so we'd get plus 7. So what I did, guys, is I just changed. Basically, I factored, like we did last chapter. I took out a 5 out of all of this, and then I made this smaller. And this is actually what we will hangman. So we're going to hangman. We have 4x squared plus 7 on the top, 16x on the bottom. Now we can go ahead and do our factoring. 7 breaks down into 7 and 1. 4x squared, there's two options. We could do 4 and 1 or 2 and 2, but we know that's going to be x and x. We know we want to get to 16 eventually. If we try 2 and 2, that'll give us 14x and 2x, which is exactly what we need. So we get 14x, 2x, and that's going to help us with our factors. Now on this one, when you factor out a big number at the beginning, you have to use that as part of the answer. So to write our answer, we put the 5. That's a factor of it. And then we have 2x plus 7 and 2x plus 1. So you have to remember whatever you factor out at the beginning, you have to include that. And if you have 3 terms that have a common factor, a greatest common factor, you have to factor that out before you can do hangman. See, these up here, none of these up here had a common factor to pull out. This one did. It had a 5. So if you look at letter F, it's the same kind of thing. 24, 44, and 16, they all have a common number that can be factored out of them. 24 is 4 times 6. We can take a 4 out of all of these because this is 4 and 11 and this is 4 and 4. So we can take a 4 out of all these. So if we take a 4 out, what we're going to be left here with is 6x squared plus 11x plus 4. So basically I'm taking out a factor of 4 and I'm left with 6, 11, and 4. Now we're going to do the hangman on this part right here. So I have 6x squared plus 4 on top and 11x down here. All right, so there may be several options to try. We know x and x. 6, we can either have 2 and 3 or 1 and 6. Let's just try 2 and 3 to begin with. We may have to change that. Then we'll do 2 and 2. If we do that, we'll multiply across, we get 4 and we get 6. 4 and 6 is not going to give us 11, so we need to go back to the drawing board. Instead of using 2 and 2, let's try using 4 and 1. If we do 4 and 1, positive 4, positive 1, we're going to get 8x, 3x. That does give us what we want. So see, I had to go through and try 2 different things. So we have 3x plus 4 and 2x plus 1. So our factors then, we got to include the 4 in our answer. So we have 4, and then we have 2x plus 1, 2x plus 1, and then we have 3x plus 4. And that's how you factor some of these more difficult quadratics. Same process, takes a little more trial and error. Be prepared to use pencil because see, if I had pencil, this would have been a lot neater. So please do use pencil on these. Thank you for listening.